Hi guys, welcome back. In this video we will learn about Firebase authentication in Compose Multiplatform. So we will be covering it for Android, iOS and web, all the three parts. So we'll be covering. So before that I have created some UI for this so that we can save time for the video. Otherwise it will be taking very long. So I have created this simple UI. This is very simple. There is no Firebase yet. So this login screen is it's pretty easy. So you can check out my initial branch. I will add the link in the description, or you can create it yourself as well. That's not like that difficult. So suppose we want to add the Firebase authentication. So how we can do that for multi-platform, like Compose multi-platform? It's not for Android and iOS only native. We are sharing the UI with Compose multi-platform and we are using the Firebase for authentication, right? So we will be using the Firebase authentication. So let's start with that. So for that we can use this firebase-kotlin-sdk. This is supporting the Compose multi-platform. Okay, so we can use this. So let's start with that without delaying anything. So pick up this authentication because we will be adding this authentication only, right? No need to go here. We can just copy and paste it. So let's first of all go to implementation, suggestions. It's not giving. Yeah, let's move to version catalog, right? Let's sync it. So if you don't know about this, so you can create Kotlin multi-platform project from this wizard, right? So if you want to create it without sharing UI or with sharing UI for iOS part, you can share UI as well. For if you don't want to share, you can use this one as well. So but if you will be sharing the UI, so it will be the same UI will be used. You can select web as well if you want to use WASM, but for web actually you can check out my previous video. So here you can just use Android and iOS, create the project using Android and iOS, and then you can add the support of web. So you can check out my videos on how to add web support in Compose Multiplatform app, because this WASM, this is a currently experimental. So this target few dependencies does not work for this currently at the time I am making this video. So later on maybe they will be supporting this target as well, but at the moment I am making this video, so they are, most of the libraries are there, so which does not yet support the WASM, right? So that's why we will add Kotlin JS support. In that video you can check out how we can add the Kotlin JS support for web, right? So this is done. So let's continue. So let's move on to this part. First of all, let's see. So if you see, this is simple login screen UI, right? So you can go and check out this UI. This is very simple. There is no complications involved here, right? So what we will be doing is we will be writing the Firebase related logic and then covering that from the login view model, right? So for that, what we need to do is, so we can create maybe one simple service there for one auth service, right? So let's add one file here. Let's name it auth service. So we can add all Firebase related logic here. Even let's make it an interface, then we will provide its implementation. So what things we need here is current maybe current user, that will be a flow. We can use flow here of user, okay, and maybe we can use some other things as well as per our needs. If we need to store user ID as well, we can use this one as well. And if we want to check is authenticated logic from here, we can do that one as well. Take a boolean variable, right? And so here we will be defining few suspend functions like authenticate. So inside authenticate, whatever we will be needing is email. So we will be using the email authentication here, email, password. But following this the way of implementation how we are doing, you can integrate any other providers as well, for Google, Facebook, or any other, right? Another one can be create a user. Okay, so this, oops, blunders are happening. So create user, so this will again accepting these parameters, and one more function we can add is sign out, right? And let's implement this. So here we can make it class, and we can extend that interface, and if you see, we can just add override here, and we can add getters as well. So how we will be getting it? We will be adding one variable here, that is auth, and that is of type Firebase auth. It provides Firebase auth instance, right? Which will be providing us authentication related information from Firebase, right? And one more thing, if needed, that's optional. It is, if we want to even add the scope as well from here, we can add that. So we can use supervisor job here, so that it will not be cancelled. Suppose if parent routine gets cancelled, its child routines, coroutines will not be get cancelled, so we can use supervisor job for that. Okay, these are optionals, actually not needed. You can directly use coroutine scope in the code as well. Okay, so here what we'll be doing is auth dot, so this is the current user ID, right? So current user dot it will be the UID, right? Dot to string. So, and here what we can do is we can just check it at the getters here. Auth dot current user is not equal to null, right? And or maybe one more thing if we can check is, if we don't want to, if user is anonymous, if we are using anonymous provider, right? In some cases, suppose anonymous provider, what you do is, in some cases without login we want to use the provider with a user, like so actually if we, without even logging, we want to track the information of the user, right? So that later on we can merge that information with his new created account, right? So for that purpose we can use anonymous provider. So we can apply this condition as well here, right? So this is not equal to null, and is anonymous is false, so then it will be is authenticated, right? So we can add override modifier here as well. So, and then this current user, so auth state change dot, so what we can do is, it will be providing you a flow of Firebase user. So from Firebase user we can map it to our user, right? So we can create our own user, that is our custom class. So this is one class I have created for user ID and is anonymous. So other parameters you can add depending upon requirement, name, email, other things you can add them here, right? So here what we can do is it dot uid dot it dot is anonymous, right? So change lambda expression return type to user. Okay, so basically this is providing a user type of null, right? So if it is not null, in this case what we can do is simple empty user, right? So let's make it override, and now let's implement them. Let's add override and here as well. Okay, so let's implement them one by one, right? So what we can do is so basically if we want to implement all the logic here, right, suppose that then we can, this is suspend function, so it will be like suspend, it will be suspending. But if we want to like make sure like that it, if we want to get the result from here, so then we can await here on the result, right, for the suspend function. So what we can do is, for that we can use wait.async, right? And then what we can do, we can call it, so for authenticate what we need is auth dot sign in with email and password. Okay, right? So and here for this we can await the result, right? So that whenever we will be calling this, right, inside the view model, so after this, whenever we will be writing code after this method calling, so there we can be assured like this has provided us result. That's why we are using the await here, right? Another way can be like let's keep it as suspended, and then after its result we can pick up its result and then accordingly update the live data and then observing, update the flow and then observing that. There are two ways, but I am using this way. So similarly what we can do is, but ideally you should not repeat these things, so you can maybe add one method for this as well. Let's create that method suspend fun. So what we can do is launch with await. Still one blunder. Okay, launch with await, let's call it launch with await. Okay, so it will be accepting one block of suspend fun, not fun will be here, that's a block, right? Unit type, right? So this block will be a suspend function, right? So then what we can do is scope dot async, right? Here we will be calling that block, right? And then await, right? So now we can just replace this part with this method and remove this await, so that this common logic will be here. We can reuse that everywhere, right? So here again we can use this, remove this, and so here what we need to do is create user with email and password. In this authentication, this is method, right? So this is for creating user, and after this call will be finished, we will be like assured like, yeah, result something has been like, it has, we have awaited for the result, so result has been returned, right? So that we can, after this call we can just write our code like if successful, so that it will be like we can update our flow and observe that, right? So for this sign out case, so what we need to do for the sign out is, let's add one check here. Suppose if user is anonymous, right? So we need to do this sign out only if user is not anonymous, right? For anonymous we don't need to do this thing, right? In that case we need to perform one extra step, otherwise what we'll be doing is auth dot sign out. But suppose if user is inside this still is anonymous is true, so then what we'll be doing is we will be deleting his account. Actually, suppose user have previously using the anonymous account, so we need to delete that account completely, right, if user is signing out. And for other we can just do this sign out thing here. Suppose if we are using the anonymous, so after sign out we can again create user anonymous session, if we are doing that. So in some cases it is needed. Suppose user is checking out the e-commerce app, so he can be checking out the product, adding to the product cart, all those things will be happening. But whenever user is logging in, we can merge that cart and other things inside the logged in user. So in those cases we can use the anonymous provider as well. In that case, if user sign out, we can just start again the new anonymous user session, right? Okay, but here we are not doing that. So on sign out, so if user is anonymous, so we will be deleting his account completely, right? So that anonymous account got deleted, its information, right? So after this one is for the sign out. So if you see, this is done now, both service, right? So now inside, let's go to the view model. So few things we need to make here. On sign in click, suppose we can apply few validations here, right? So validations, all other those things you can just apply yourself. If you see, have you taken the UI state? Yeah, the UI state is there. In the UI state, so it is like email and password, right? We are using the UI state for that, right? Okay, again these two things you know already about them. We are using mutable state flow, and then this is private variable, then as backing property for this, that is using the as state flow, right? This we will be observing, and this one is the private to view model, right? So let's come to here. So if you see, if UI state dot email, sorry, dot value dot email, so you can just, I'm just applying simple validation here. If this is true, so we can set email error dot value. So whatever value, suppose we have notifying, it is boolean value, so we can set it true. According to this, we can observe it inside their UI and show our message, snack bar or something else, right? Similarly for password, and otherwise, and here also we need to return, because if some error is there, we are not proceeding, right? So, and if some everything is correct, so again now let's come to this. I have created one base view model which we will be extending for every other view model if we are creating. So why I created this, because instead of writing that this logic like view model scope dot launch and then handling this, passing this coroutine context for error handling, so I have added this common method similar to the auth service. We have created one method there, if you remember just now, like this for common method. Similarly, I have added this launch with catching exception. So we are catching the exception already there, right? So it is accepting suspend function that is on the coroutine scope, right? That is providing the coroutine scope to us, right? So that everything inside this scope will be available in that block. And here we can keep the job, and if we need to cancel or need to perform other things on the job, we can do that easily here. And here we are providing the coroutine context again using the supervisor job, plus we can use exception handler, and here we can show error message. Suppose for every API call, if some error is there, we can just write this common logic and update few things or show snack bar or other things from here. Like we can implement some custom snack bar and we can update that message from here and then observe its state in the UI, and then we can show. So I'm not showing those things, but this is, I'm just trying to use the best practice, right, for saving the time. As like writing these codes at many places, it's better if we can write that at single place, right? So we will be using this. So this is, you can just think of like a wrapper over view model scope dot launch. If you want to use this one, you can use that one as well. That this is not urgent, right? So here what we'll be doing is auth. So yeah, here we will be needing the auth service now. Let's add. Okay. So this auth service dot, what we need to do. So initially we will create the user, right? Why I will be showing you, because if user is not available, then it will be showing us errors. So inside the create user, it's accepting the email, this email, and then this password, right? And here what we can do is, so we can update our state like login is successful, or even if we want to keep that variable here, we can keep it is. But as we have already added the current user thing here, right? So this will be triggered again and again whenever user state will be updating. On login, user will be changing, so this flow will be triggering, and this is updating our this flow, and this flow we will be observing here in the init. So we don't need to do anything else then, right? So here we will be observing this, right? So here we will be observing this. So what we'll be doing is we can create one user value here as well, flow, right? Current user, that is of type, what will be its type? Initially it will be null, it will be of type our user type, right? So we can make it nullable and add state flow backing property, and let's add this. Okay, it's fine. And here what we'll be doing is auth service dot current user dot collect, right? So we will be calling the collect here. It's pretty easy as you do with the flows, right? So what it's saying is, yeah, I think here again we need to use it inside the view model scope, right? So here what we'll be doing is current user dot, so we can update its value directly or either, right, it. Okay, so and we will be listening this in the UI side, so this will be automatically updated whenever after this is, that will be automatically updating, right? So currently first we will be using the create user, and then I will be showing you login as well, authenticate as well, right? So this is the code for that. So for sign out as well, we can just add sign out, okay, fine. So here we are passing the auth service IMPL, and this will be requiring the Firebase auth, so we can pass that one. So let's pass that will be the firebase.auth, right? So this logic is now ready and we can use it here as well. Let's make updates here. So then we will be setting up all the apps for Firebase, Android, iOS and web, right? Those few steps will be needing there. So after those we will be ready to test it, right? So these things I have already added here to save the time. On email change, on password change, other things, right? So on email change, what we can do is here we can update the UI state dot value dot or maybe we can directly update it. Okay, it dot copy. So here we the email as new value, and one more thing, if new value is not blank, so what we can do is email error, we can set that as, we can reset this error as well, right? Similarly we can do it password change as well. Here we'll be writing the password, and here again password errors, right? Okay, so now most of the things are done. So here we can just collect one or two things as well. So UI state, email error, password error. So yeah, these things as well is processing. Oh yeah, so we need to add one more thing actually. So we will be keeping one variable there. If API is triggering, so then we can update the is processing thing, right, in the login view model. That is like just simple way of checking out how what step here currently we are doing in the view model. So is processing. Okay, so it will be of type boolean, it's false currently, right? And we will be updating it whenever we need to update it. So whenever user is clicking on sign in, right? So here we can set its value to true. Okay, and here we can again set its value false, right? Okay, and one more thing we can add. So that is if we need to enable the button, right? Just assume, so if there is some error in the email or password, right? So we can then disable the button, we don't need to enable it, right? So that by mistake user is not pressing. Okay, so this now this will be little bit another way of defining this thing. So this will be just we are adding a directly state flow actually. So we'll be updating this, and actually so what we'll be doing is state flow. Okay, state flow, it will be of type boolean, and how we will be getting its value is we will be calling the combine. So if we want to, like the mediated live data, it is like just if we want to observe multiple flows, so we can do this. So here we will be update on the update of UI state, we will be updating our states as well, right? So we can keep it here like states. Okay, and here we will be getting the, because currently we have only one field, this is one field, here it can be multiple things as well in this constructor, right? So then we can use here multiple arguments as well, but here it is one, it will be providing an array, so we will be getting the first item from that, right? And then state dot yeah, it's showing login UI state. So if this its type is login UI state dot email, right? Dot just suppose if email is not blank, only then this button will be enabled, right? Similarly if password as well is not blank, right? Okay, so in this case we can enable it, and now we need to make it state flow. So this will be returning just normal flow, but we need state flow here. So what we can do is vmodel scope. So if you know about that sharing strategy, we can specify while subscribed, right? These things are pretty common in Jetpack Composer Android side if you are from there, so I think I don't need to explain them. Or maybe this is about like sharing of the flow will be starting while some user will be some subscriber will be subscribed to this collecting this flow, only then it will be starting the sharing. This is for that it can be different other options as well, like eagerly, lazily, right? So you can read about them, otherwise it will take more time to explain them. So maybe in some other video I will be explaining these things, I'll be creating some special video on these topics. So this is for it, and now this is processing. Okay, and is button enabled. So if we will be not using this one, but I am showing you like this way we can implement logic as well, right? For this, so if you need you can enable or disable button as well, but I am not doing it, so you can use that if needed. And another one is current user. Okay, let's remove them. Okay, so password error is by mistake removed. Okay, cool. So now it's ready, I think. And here you can see if it's processing, I am showing circular progress indicator in that case, and otherwise it will be sign in button, right? So, and again one more thing, so this is just for example. What will be showing is after user is logged in, here I will be showing the logged in user ID and logout button, right? So very simple link. And if some error is there, we will be showing some error message here, right? So you can change these things according to your logic. So ideally what we'll be doing is after login, user will be moving to the most of the time dashboard or home screen or something, right? So you can implement that logic according to you. So here, like suppose here we are showing this. So here what you can do is you can trigger your own login success, and you can get that call back from somewhere from the app side, right? And you can trigger this on login success from there, and then you can navigate to other screen, right? So let's try to run it actually. Before running that, so now what we need to do is let's quickly set up the apps for all these for Android, right? So in the Firebase console we can just add a new project. Let's give it a name, Firebase KMP, right? So yeah, let's add this project. Let's add this analytics. These things you might be knowing about already. So that project is ready. So now you can add your Android, iOS and web apps, right? So for Android, let's first of all add our Android app. So let's see what is the package. We can check that here. So let's add our package here and let's give it a name, Firebase KMP Compose. And this here we will be adding the SHA as well, but currently this is optional, not need. We will be needing this for Google sign in or phone number support, but let's add it as well so that we don't need to add it later. So what we can do is can run just you can run this signing report Gradle task, right? It will be providing you the SHA for your debug key, right? You can see. So this one we can quickly copy and paste it here. Ideally we don't need this for email authentication, but anyway we can add it. And let's download this Google Services JSON file. Yep, it's done. This is showing steps, you can ignore, we have already added it in the Kotlin Multiplatform, right? So and then let's copy this and add it inside the Compose app, right? We need to edit it here where our source folder is there, right? This is added, and now if you see, let's add iOS app as well. Even before that, let's finish the Android one. Actually we need to add one more thing. So if you see in the main activity or maybe in the main class, application class as well, you can create. So what we need to do is we need to set up few things in the Firebase options. So if you see in the initialize, so what we are doing is it can be the application context, and we can specify some options as well here. Is it the initialize? Yeah, so this one. So here we can specify options, Firebase options, and inside this we can specify important things which we need to specify. So we can copy them from here as well, or maybe you can copy them from your project configuration as well. If you see project settings, from here you can use these things, app id, key, all other things, right? You can see project id, all these things are added here as well, right? Okay, so let's copy these things which are required. I think we required project id as well. So if you see here, what it's showing is app id, application id, right? So application id is this one, right? For Android we are specifying it, right? API key, and what another options are there? We need project id as well. So project id, let's copy it. So let's copy it and add it, and I guess we are good to go. So yeah, now let's try to run it for Android, then we will be setting it up for iOS and web. Meanwhile it's running, let's add iOS app as well here. Project overview, if you go, you can add app and you can select iOS app as well. So you can give it Firebase KMP Compose iOS, right? Oops, actually this is not the name. We need to specify bundle id, so that we can get from configuration very easily. This one, and you can download Google Services info plist file, right? This one again, you can copy it and paste it inside the iOS app, here in the iOS app, right? So for this, let's, because directly files are not added here, so we can open the Xcode for adding them. But meanwhile, our run is successful, I think. Let's try to run it. Yeah, there is one issue with the emulator. Let's rerun it. So let's open that project here. If you see Firebase, yeah, and this iOS app. Okay, let's rerun it. Okay, so let's first of all create our account. Okay, an internal error, yeah, maybe something is wrong. Configuration not found, sign in with password. Okay, configuration not found. Okay, let's see. Authenticate, yeah, actually we made it wrong. So first of all we need to create a user actually we are directly trying this sign out. So because it's not finding out those account, right? So those errors actually you can track, you can get its result from here as well, right? And here we can return it from here as well, if you see, right? So because it's already we are awaiting here, so we can get the result here, right? So if you see, it will be of type, again if you see here, we can trigger the return as well. So after triggering the return, we can observe those results. So if some error is there according to this, so what we can do is we can set up its error message and trigger those error message if this error message is in the API, right? So currently we are not doing that. Let's avoid that. So you can do that yourself as well. Okay, sign up password. Let's see. Actually one more thing, actually we have not enabled the one step we are missing. We have not enabled, actually let's first of all finish that. We have not enabled the providers. So what we need to do is, so if you go here, this is for owners, this is for integration. So we need to go in the authentication, and then what we need to do is get started. So we can enable email and password, this providers, right? And we can enable anonymous as well if we just need to use, otherwise we can omit this. Okay, so now let's this issue I'm facing these days with my Android Studio. Not sure if I run it emulator as a separate window it works, but if in Android Studio I'm facing this issue, not sure why it's happening. Okay, let's do one thing. Let's remove this. Let's try to run it in this separate window, right? Then I don't face that issue actually. Yeah. Okay, if you see, login is successful, right? It has created the account and update provided us this logged in user ID. So oops, the predictive back gesture worked. Let's just ignore that, it happens sometimes. Okay, so if you see, you can log out as well, right? So currently I have not applied the logic. You can change the logic as well. You can hide these screens as well if login is successful. So now it is logged out. Let's try to do it again. Okay, so now it will not be creating account another next time, right? Let's see what error it shows. Yeah, some error will be there, you can see, right? Email address is already in use, right? So this email address is already in use. So now what we can do is, first time we just created account for testing. So now what we can do is we can just create the authenticate, right? Okay, let's do that. And meanwhile we need to do few setup for iOS side as well. I'll be explaining that why we need to do that. Okay, so if you see, login successful, this is the logged in user ID. We can log out as well, right? So this is done for Android. And now let's So basically what happens is if you try to run it for iOS now, linking errors you will be getting there. So I'm not sure why they are there. So I think maybe some co-op ports or something other issues there. So this Firebase, even I tried to use it that way as well, exporting it to the iOS side as well. I tried to export that dependency from here as we usually do. Firebase, I tried to export the Firebase, but it didn't work. So as of now, as a workaround, so what we need to do is we need to add package in our Android app. If you see here, so Firebase iOS SDK, right? So this is the link, its link. You can type if you have already used it first time, so it will be showing you as suggestions. But if you are doing it first time, so you need to copy this complete link from GitHub here, right? It will be showing you this complete package. Then you can add this package. So we can just pick up whatever we need. So let's just use the auth and or maybe as of now just let's add all of them. It will be taking time to making them set to null, so better rather than doing that better if we can use all. But ideally we don't need other Firebase modules. You can just select Firebase auth as well only. Okay, and one thing is, so we need to add that file here. If we add that file in Android Studio, that's not added actually, right, to the iOS app. So we need to add that manually here. So now it's done. Okay, and now if syncing will be done, what we can do is we need to initialize Firebase here. Only that minor change will be needed in iOS side. It's done. So we need to add this code as a workaround for that. Currently our that export is not working from KMP side. Firebase app, okay, dot configure. So here we can import Firebase. Now let's try to run it the Android, sorry, iOS side as well. Let's try to run it. Okay, yeah, you can see it's working fine on Firebase, on iOS side as well. If you can see the same user ID, it's login successful. We can log out, and if I missed one thing, if anything is empty, so it will be showing error here as well. You can see error, something is wrong, right? Okay, so this is done for iOS as well. Can close, we can close this one as well. Stop tasks. Okay, so we don't need it anymore. So now the thing is about adding it in the app, sorry, website, right? So we can add one web app for that, right? Compose web, right? Firebase KMP Compose web. So let's add it first, and then we'll be updating those parameters. Let's meanwhile what we can do is Okay, we can copy that code which we need. So this code we can copy it and we can add it in the JS side as well. We can remove application context, that is not needed anymore. We can change these application IDs and other parameters according to our requirement. So this one is also added. Now let's go to the project settings. Project ID will be same for all the apps, right? So web API key, probably it will also be the same. Okay, I guess it will be the same. Actually it is for the project, so it will be remaining same. Yeah, so these and these parameters will be same, only application ID will be changing. That is for our application. If you see, you can go here, you can copy this, okay, and then just add it here, right? Now we are good to go with this web app as well, right? Let's try to see it, how it works. Let's delete this yarn.log. If you can get some error related to the yarn.log, you can delete that and maybe rerun it. Yeah, you can see it is responsive. I made it according to the width condition, right? So let's try to test it here itself. Okay, yeah, that's cool. It's working on Android, iOS and web. Firebase authentication in the Compose Multiplatform, you can see, right? We can log out. Okay, so that's it guys about Firebase authentication in Compose Multiplatform. I hope you have got the idea about this and you have enjoyed the video. So if you are new to my YouTube channel, please subscribe. I will be uploading all this code on the GitHub and pasting the link, okay, so you can check out it from there. So I hope now you have an idea about Firebase authentication, how we can use that in all three platforms, Android, iOS and web. So if you like the video, please like, share and comment. If you are new, please subscribe. And that's all about this. I will see you in the upcoming video with other cool stuff. So till then, bye bye, take care, have a great time, keep coding.